All right, this video is going to involve our last of the three methods to factoring quadratic expressions, namely AC grouping, right? So filling in the blank, well, we had to have A equal to 1, right? In this case, this is when we do not have A equal to 1. So we can use fill in the blank in these examples, not these examples, in these examples right here, right, where A is equal to 1, we see that. Right, but here on these examples, that is not the case. Okay, so let's go ahead and write out the steps real quick. So step one is always to multiply A times C, right? Step two, I guess I have to put the little number sign next to it now. Got to continue in the same tradition, I guess. Anyway, step two is to find the factors of AC, or A times C, right? A times C is just AC. Find the factors of AC that combine into B, right? And that should be kind of familiar. That's kind of following along the same lines of what we did in fill in the blank. And step three is to split Bx into those factors. Step four is to group and factor GCF. And then step five is to factor again. Okay, so now let's run through this. So we've got a clear-cut example here. A, in this case, is equal to 6, right? So that means we cannot do what we did in the previous video, or one of the previous videos, where we just filled in the blanks. That's not going to work here because A does not equal 1. It, in fact, equals 6. Okay, can't stress that enough. So we're going to follow step one, and we're going to do A times C. So A times C, that gives me negative 30, right? So AC is negative 30. Okay, then step two tells us find the factors of AC that combine to give us B. So what are the factors of negative 30 that would combine to give me positive 13? Right, so we can try a few numbers. So 6 times negative 5. Well, that's obviously not going to work, right? 6 times negative 5 does give me negative 30, but it's not going to combine to give me positive 13. Okay, what about 10 and 3? 10 times 3. Well, one of these has to be negative. So if I say negative 10 and 3, well, that's going to give me a 7. Positive 10 and negative 3 is going to also just give me a 7. Still doesn't work. Okay, well, what about, and a lot of this is trial and error unless you're just really good with numbers, and I'm trying to illustrate that here. So what about positive 15 and negative 2, right? 15 times negative 2 gives me negative 30, and 15 combines with negative 2 to give me positive 13. So that checks out. So I've got step 2 out of the way. Step 3, split Bx into those factors. In this case, this right here is Bx, right? B is equal to 13. So I'm going to have 6x squared plus 13x, that's Bx, minus 5. I'm going to split Bx into those factors. So I'm going to split it into these two numbers here. So it becomes a plus 15x and a minus 2x. So the positive 15 comes from here, and the negative 2x comes from here. Okay, and then bring everything else down. So C is still minus 5, and A is still, well, not A, but ax squared, that's 6x squared. Okay, so now we're on to step 4, group and factor. So group just means draw some parentheses like so. And we're going to factor out the GCF. So here on the left, 6x squared plus 15x, we see that our GCF is 3x. And that leaves me with 2x plus 5. Here on the right, and you'll remember in an earlier video, I always tell you guys we don't want that negative leading coefficient if we can help it, and in this case, we can help it. So negative 2x, negative 5, they don't have anything in common except a negative 1. If I factor out that negative 1, now it becomes 2x plus 5. Okay, and that's important because now we see 2x plus 5 here and 2x plus 5 here. They match. That allows us to do step 5, where we factor again. This term and this term both have the 2x plus 5 in common that I can factor out. So I factor out 2x plus 5, the entire binomial, and that leaves me just with 3x minus 1. Okay, and just to prove that I'm not crazy, if we FOIL this back out, so 2x times 3x, 6x squared, 2x times negative 1, negative 2x, 5 times 3x, positive 15x. These numbers should look pretty dang familiar. And positive 5, negative 1, negative 5, combine like terms, and we get back to 6x squared plus 13x minus 5, exactly where we came from. Okay, so this does work. Okay, so we've got it. That would be our final answer. So this polynomial, right, this quadratic polynomial here, if we were to factor it into two binomials, right, into two binomials like it's asking us to, they would be 2x plus 5 multiplied by 3x minus 1. And that's it. That would be our answer. So let's go ahead and try another couple examples. Okay, and I'm going to go a little faster with these because I don't have to explain so much. But they're all going to entail stuff that we didn't quite see in the first example in one way or another. Okay, so right here, we have a is equal to 4, right? So we cannot use filling in the blank. So we have to do AC grouping and follow these steps right over here. So a times c is the first thing that I'm going to find. And that's going to give me negative 60. Okay, then we need to find the factors of AC that combine into B. So that's that 17. So what are the factors of negative 60 that multiply into negative 60, obviously, and that also combine into a positive 17? Well, that's going to be positive 20 and negative 3, right? 20 times negative 3, that gives me negative 60. 20 combines with negative 3 to give me positive 17, and that's exactly what I need. So 4x squared plus 17x minus 15 is going to get split into, because that's our next step for step 3, we split bx into those factors that we just found. So now we have 4x squared, not plus 17x, but plus 20x, right? The 20 minus 3x, this minus 3. And then we still have that minus 15. And then we group and factor. And we're looking to factor the GCF out, right? So 4x squared plus 20x. Our GCF here is 4x. That leaves me with x plus 5. Here, I don't want that negative leading coefficient, so I'm going to factor out the negative, but I also see 3 and 15. So our GCF is going to be that minus 3. That leaves me also with x plus 5. Okay, and then the final step, we factor again. So that's going to leave me with my final answer, x plus 5, right? Because we have x plus 5 here, x plus 5 here between these two terms. So we factor out this x plus 5 from both these terms. And that leaves us with 4x minus 3, right? So my final answer, this guy right here, 4x squared plus 17x minus 15, factors out into the two binomials x plus 5 times 4x minus 3. Okay, and you can think of what we're doing, if it's blowing your mind a little bit, like what we're doing and or why. It goes back to what I said in a previous video where I said, all we're doing is distribution in reverse. Well, right now, all we're doing is foiling in reverse, right? So instead of foiling, right, we're undoing the foiling and getting into binomials instead of, a 3-term trinomial like this. Okay, so third example, again, we see A does not equal 1. We can't use fill in the blank. We're going to multiply A times C. So that's going to give me 42. And now we're going to find the factors of AC that combine to give me B, so negative 13. And that one's going to be kind of weird, right? So we know 7 times 6 is going to give me 42, right? But positive 7 times positive 6, that's not going to combine to give me this negative, right? And if I make one of them negative, well, then that's not going to multiply to give me a positive 42. But we can obviously make them both be negative. So that's going to multiply to give me positive 42. Negative 7 combines with negative 6 to give me negative 13. And there we have it. So we're going to go ahead and split bx now into the two numbers that we just got. So minus 7x minus 6x. Bring down everything we haven't used yet. Then we're going to group and factor. Oops. So here on the left, only thing they have in common is that x. That leaves me with 2x minus 7. And then here on the right, well, we're going to want to factor out a negative 3. And that's going to leave me with 2x minus 7 as well. Okay, and one last step, factor again. So we're going to factor out, so this term and this term both have the 2x minus 7. So we're going to go ahead and factor out that 2x minus 7, and that's going to leave me with the x minus 3. So 2x squared minus 13x plus 21 is factorable into the product of two binomials, 2x minus 7 multiplied by x minus 3. And there it is. Okay, so that's how AC grouping works. It works in all cases. Even if A is 1, it'll still work out the same. You'll still end up just doing fill in the blank, though. But the idea is the same. Pretty tedious, kind of, but it's the same 5 steps over and over again, and it always works out, assuming that it is factorable. So that does it for this video. If you have any questions over how to factor using AC grouping, shoot me an email. Otherwise, you know where to find me.